Hey, 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 back to Sanira's way. Hey guys, so this week has been insanely busy. Like when I say living my best life, booked, busy, unbothered, like it's been a great week, but I said I have to get back on video. I have to do a new video. I had to pick out my little senorita dress. I was feeling real senorita this morning when I got up, so I had to get the red dress on. And I was like, the last three videos that I went to make, it was crazy because I was like, I had one topic, the same topic, and every time I just switch it up. Like when I do my videos, like I try not to be so rigid and strict that I'm like, you gotta say this, you gotta say this, and I kind of off my dome. I kind of think of a topic and then I just allow, what is in to come out and express. And so I did that this morning. I was like, you're gonna talk about this. And then I was like, no, you're not. So I hope everybody's having a great day today. But I wanted to hop on real quick. And the thing that's been on my heart lately, actually, when I talked in my last video and the video before that, I talked about like the prayer that I prayed to God and asking him to remove anything that wasn't for me and just to help me work through a lot of the internal struggles that I've had. And when I did that at the end of last year, I realized that I had a lot of grief that I hadn't worked through, right? And of course, we all experience grief, and most people think of grief as in losing someone to death or them passing. What is she saying? Okay, the girl shopping for my groceries. I'm like, as long as it's gluten free, girl, make sure you get the gluten free option. So, okay, but anyway, and so, I'm like, I had a lot of undiagnosed grief, and so we think, like I said, about people passing and experiencing grief that way, but it's so many different things that we experience in life that we actually go through the stages of grief and process grief, kind of like that same experience in losing someone, their physical life. And I remember being in high school and, I've always been a health major. I'm a nurse, so I've always loved health. And one of the psychological things that we talked about in high school, I remember, was the 5 stages of grief. And for those who don't know, there are 5 stages of grief. You have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And I realized that this year has been a road to acceptance for me. And I realized that throughout the year, I've processed grief when it comes to different situations in my life. And I wanted to get on here and talk about it because I know a lot of people experience those same feelings. And breaking down those stages and how you can get to acceptance is really important in healing some of those things that plague you and kind of take you off path or give you fear or self-doubt, self-love, insecurity. If we have that unprocessed grief, those are the things that can plague us and stop us from living our best life. And where I am in this stage of my life is that I'm trying to be the best version of myself. And to do that, it's been a rough year because I've had to let things go, like situations, people, in order for me to get to that road of acceptance. So, I guess we can start with, the situations, right? So situations that we may experience grief, and I'll use myself as an example. And I want to preface this by saying that the situations that I will discuss, I don't know where they'll go or what'll come off my head, but I'm going to try to be tactful, respectful, and do it in love and with compassion, because I know that we all experience things in our life that cause us to react differently, cause us to say and do things. And ultimately, we all have a lot of unhealed, unpacked trauma and things that we went through that cause us to make decisions or what and how we interact with other people. So when I think about grief, and it's so crazy because at the end of last year I started doing coaching sessions, and on my first coaching session I realized that I had a situation that I had experienced that really caused me to alter the way I viewed myself, my self-love, And I guess I'll explain it. So I've in a lot of instances in my life, I felt like a redheaded stepchild, like I didn't fit in. I knew that I was different in school. I was different in my neighborhood because I grew up I was always different. I was teased. I was bullied. But I thought about a situation that to this day, I think bothered me so much to my core that it actually affected how I feel about myself and how I seek validation. So as I discussed before, my father was not an active father. He was in the beginning of my life, and then it began to dissipate, and he wasn't there. And I remember graduating from high school. I remember being so excited, going to college. And I knew that because my dad wasn't an active participant in my life, that I wanted to ensure that I remained close to all of my siblings, right? So I wanted to ensure that even because he wasn't the example, I wanted to try to be the example myself. And I remember calling and checking on my siblings because they were younger. And I'm like, I remember just being so happy that I ultimately had it in my hands. And, like my daughter, she's so funny now that she's an adult. She likes to be, do adult things and likes to initiate and stuff like that. And I had that same zeal for initiation and trying to be there. And I remember calling and wanting to speak to my siblings. And I remember being told that I can't call there. Now, right now, I won't shed a tear about it because I've been able to process that grief, because in that moment, it felt like pure grief to me, because I thought that I was loved and I thought that I was equal, and in that moment, I felt like a redheaded stepchild and I didn't feel equal. And I remember being in my dorm room and I remember crying for 24 hours straight. Every time I thought about it, I cried about it. And when I was on my coaching session at the end of last year, I cried and I wrote in my journal, the things that I felt about it and how that validation and wanting to fit in and wanting to belong and wanting to be loved, because when you don't feel like you have that love from a parent, you seek other people or other things sometimes to fill that void. So when I had that door ultimately, slammed in my face, now I can't judge because I know everyone goes through their own situations and I don't know their situation at that time, but I do know how much it hurt me as an 18-year-old, wanting and had that zeal and that zest for wanting to mend and be the glue and that relationship, and how it hurt me. And even into my adulthood, how it hurts me, because I believe that situation initiated and ultimately affected my relationship with my siblings. And when I went through that experience at the end of last year and I was processing it and realizing how much it truly scarred me, I realized that I was trying to force things because of that situation. Because I felt like an outcast, I overdid it sometimes with trying to force that relationship, especially when it wasn't reciprocated. And we'll go to denial, right? Denial is that first stage of grief. In that grief, I was in denial. I'm like, no, it's going to be okay. We're going to be great, and it took my daughter, who she's always the one going, no, it's okay. I don't feel like I have a relationship with them. I don't feel like being as though they're adults. I don't feel like they initiate enough for me to say, I value them as family members. And when my children say they're hurt about something, that's when it changes, because I've built a threshold in myself to be able to take and pile on as so much. As you guys have heard through some of the stories that I've told you guys, I've been able to put up with a lot. But when my kids say that they're hurt about something, that's when it kind of made me realize, okay, you need to step back. Like they were like, they don't call us, they don't congratulate us, they don't pour into us, and which is okay because we all have free will. But I realized that I also needed to step back and stop forcing what doesn't fit. So through that stage of grief, I was able to get to acceptance by processing it. First I was in denial, then I was angry, like, how come my kids ain't good enough? You get what I'm saying? Like, you really feel like that, you know what I mean? Then I went through bargaining, well, I gotta understand where they're coming from in their processing, you know what I mean? And then I went through depression. Like, I, as an adult, most of my adult life has suffered from depression, especially with a lot of the trauma and things that I've experienced. But ultimately I had to get to acceptance and go, hey, we're all human beings. You know what I mean? I love them. I'll have compassion for them. You know what I mean? But I have to surrender, let go, and let God. And so through that process, I was able to process the grief of not feeling like I was looked at as equal or valued as equal, like I said, which is ultimately okay because we all have free will and free choice. And no matter what, we'll always have love and love them. So that was a major thing on my heart that I had to work through because I've always sought for validation in other people, not in a way on which I would, do the most and try to like, pick me, but in a way of wanting to belong, and I realized I'm not made to belong, baby. I'm made to stand out. You know what I'm saying? I'm made to be me, and it's okay. And through this year, I've been able to process another situation in which I had to process grief. And I'm giving examples because I know a lot of people have family issues, and listen, like I said, compassion and grace, like understanding. I know there are a lot of people that have family issues, so that's why I wanted to use that as an example because it's true for me. And like I said, it's no bitterness or anger, revenge or not revenge. It's all love. But another example that I had to process grief was I had a best friend for over a decade. We never argued. We never fought. And it was a situation that happened with my ex and then a disagreement. And because of that disagreement, it put me in between a rock and a hard place because it was like feeling like I had to choose between a friend and then my ex and his mom, And so I'm going to tell y'all, that was the hardest thing. Worse than a breakup, worse than divorce, worse than any breakup I had because I had looked at my best friend at that time, as my sister. Like more like equal to my breed, my baby, you know what I mean? But like I looked at her like my sister, like you would have thought we were blood. And the hardest part for me is that to this day, and that was almost 5 years ago, we've not talked. And even when she ended the friendship with me, it wasn't through conversation. She ended the friendship with me through text. And when I tell y'all, for 2 weeks, I cried. I was in severe depression. I tried to understand why. I tried to figure out why. Was it because I was moving almost an hour away? And like we all have our own abandonment issues. And, sometimes I'm like, well, is it because, she wants to end it because she knows that we're not going to be as close anymore because I'm far away? Like I try to process it through it all and try to figure out the why behind it. But to go through those stages of grief, it was the most difficult thing, one of the most difficult things that I've had to experience. And to this day, I'm able to look back, like I said, no tears because I've been able to actually process that grief. But when I tell you guys, I cried, from my soul. I remember being on my bathroom floor, like bawling my eyes out and wanting to like talk to her and I believe she didn't want to talk to me because she knew once she heard my voice and we started talking that she was going to want to like not go through with breaking up, our friendship. And then like how the conversion of the conversation and how it went left, and it's like, whoa, like this ain't us, like we don't do this, and it was insane. But that situation for me was also a time where I had to process grief, right? Also not having people show up for you the way, like I used to have expectations, right? And my thing is I've had a lot of friend issues, and I've tried to work through in this year, try to understand why I've had friend issues. And I think a lot of my friend issues come from me being the type of person that I am, right? And a lot of us have unhealed or unpacked things that we have not acknowledged or addressed, right? We all have insecurities. We all have self-doubt and stuff like that. And I feel like me being right now where I'm kind of a loner is the best situation for me, because I've had friends that ultimately a friendship starts out great and then it gets weird, and I'm like, well, what is it? What is it? And my sister and I have to try to unpack things. Like, we're both really strong, like go-getters, like nonstop. Like, I had a friend tell me, like, oh, I don't know how you do it. And it's like, you make it look easy. And I'm like, make what look easy? You know, like, it's rough for me too. I'm resilient and I keep going. You know what I mean? I've had where I feel like, oh my God, this person is great. And next thing I know, they acting funny or saying some sideways things. And I think my gut ultimately is a problem too, because I pick up on things that normal people wouldn't pick up on or let slide. And I'm like, I worked psych for 8 years, and I like to understand like the why behind things. And if someone says something or does something, I'm like, that's weird. Like, why would they do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. Like, I've had someone who I thought I was cool with take pictures of me in a compromising state. You know what I mean? And it was crazy because I'd asked God, like, show me everybody that wasn't for me. And I'm like, that sound on that camera was on because God did. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, yo, did you just took pictures of me? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I didn't get mad. I didn't get angry. I left gracefully and in peace. But I've had so many things where I've had situations where friends where they think I'm competing with them, and I'm many things, but I don't compete with anybody. I'm more of trying to be the best me I can be. And I think people take it personally sometimes when you go hard, because they may not be in a situation in their life, or they may be suffering with depression, or they may be suffering with insecurity, and they see you going hard and they feel directly threatened. And it's like, it's not nothing that anyone has or anything that anyone does that directly threatens me, because I know that what God has for me is ultimately for me. And then it was so crazy because I was chatting and I had gave an example, and I was like, sometimes people will use their last little bit of paint that God gave them to finish their picture to paint you in a bad light, you know? Because when people can't control you, they want to control, how people look at you, you know what I mean? Or how people, they want to diminish your light. Instead of them working on their own light, they want to dim your light. You get what I'm saying? So I've had instances where friends, were like that. And I've gracefully bowed out and surrendered and like, you can have it. You know what I mean? And it's okay. Because like I said, I had enough compassion to go, I'm good, love. You know what I mean? Because you will see, and so will everyone else that, you know what I mean? You wanted to paint me in a bad light. Well, see, I'm not that type of person. I don't have to go around and create an army. You know what I'm saying? To down you or to make you look bad. I keep my mouth shut. Because life gonna life, you know what I mean? And the truth will always come to light, you know what I mean? But I've lost so many friends because I feel like the way they viewed me is not how I really am. And I think they want to create those narratives so they ultimately can feel better about themselves. And it's like, yo, I'm focusing on my own plate, you know what I mean? And I'm eating off my plate. I can't worry about and that's my key to success. If anyone wants to know, like, oh, wow, how she's doing this, my key to success is I'm focusing on my plate. I'm not worrying about what anyone else has or what anyone else does, because it's not a reflection of me, or it doesn't bring me any value. You know what I mean? And so, like I said, I've had to deal with grief with family members. I've had to deal with grief with friends. Of course, we heard the grief that I've had to deal with as far as my relationships went. Even feeling or wanting someone to meet you halfway, and then having to grieve that they didn't. That has been a hurtful experience that I've experienced in my adult life. Wanting so hard for something to work or something to come together and it not. I've gone through that denial, that anger, that bargaining. The bargaining is like the rationalization, like, well, maybe they'll do this. Well, let me wait on it. Let me wait on it. Let me wait on it. And it's like, no, baby, don't wait. Don't wait for anyone to do right by you. You get what I'm saying? Do right by yourself. We want so much to feel love from other people, but it really needs to be us feeling and encouraging the love within ourselves, right? Because we came into this world alone. And we can set expectations for everyone, right? We can set expectations for our kids. We can set expectations for our family. We can set expectations for friends, our spouse. But ultimately, that's your idea. And sometimes we can be delulu. You know what I mean? Because my delulu is thinking everybody's a me. You feel what I'm saying? And not everybody is a me. Thinking like, oh, they're positive, they're optimistic. No, they're not. They're negative. They're a Debbie Downer. And their negative and Debbie Downing is going to Debbie down you. So you got to back away. You know what I'm saying? But we all set those expectations. And sometimes we're delusional in I'm a dreamer, we're delusional in our dreams and our visions for other people and wanting them to fill a void, when ultimately this year of solace for me, this year of inner work for me, has been me filling the void within myself, not needing a family member, not needing a friend, not needing a husband, and not even needing my kids to fill a void, because sometimes we can do that too. Well, I don't need a man, I love my kids. Like, no. Codependency is real out here. And a lot of times we'll link and have codependent relationships to avoid the healing and the work that we need to do within ourselves. You feel what I'm saying? So this year of solace for me has been able to break codependent patterns. I don't need to be on the phone with someone all day. I have to be busy grinding all day to get the dreams and the things that I have for myself. I don't need to, have a man where I'm on the phone with 24/7. You know what I mean? Because he needs to be grinding and I need to be grinding, and then we can meet somewhere in the middle. And even with me not dating for 2 years, it was me working on not feeling like I needed a man to complete me. I needed to be complete and whole within myself before I went and tried to seek a partner. Because what happens is when you're not complete, or you haven't done the work, or you just jump into another relationship, what happens, you have voided doing the self-work, you have voided the accountability, you have voided the healing. And so you have issues that will linger and cause you to make the same negative patterns. And this year for me has been breaking negative patterns in the most optimistic, like I said, compassionate, having grace for myself, having grace for other people. I have been done quite dirty. You know what I'm saying? I've had where I had an idea and I'm combining with a friend on an idea, and they literally go and take the idea, do it with someone else and sell it, then try to sell it to me. You know what I'm saying? How grimy did I feel? But I said, it's all right, God. You know what I mean? Because nothing or no one can take what God has for you. You know what I mean? And if it's not that, it'll be something else. You get what I'm saying? No love lost whatsoever. Go ahead and do it, baby. You know what I mean? You got it. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that is why I'm in a positive state. That's why I've been glowing. That's why I've been losing weight. And no, it hasn't been Ozempic. Not to say I haven't done weight loss pills years ago, but my weight loss has been intermittent fasting, and then of course now my sickness and the fact that I have to be cautious about what I eat. But that's why I'm looking good. I'm feeling good. Doors are opening for me in ways that I never thought will open for me. I cannot wait to finally do a video and just express some of the hardship that I went through in this last year. And I'm smiling because it's like, sometimes the tower gotta fall, baby, for you to come back on top. And it is okay, because God has truly been what? Doing the big one for me. And I've been talking to my kids and encouraging them, and I've been stepping outside of my comfort zone, and my kids and my siblings have come like, yo, you killing it. You stepping out of your comfort zone is helping us step out of our comfort zone. But I just ultimately wanted to do this video to say we can heal from grief. You know, eventually we will, you know, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's the loss of friendships or ideas about love and friendships, and about ideas about how we interact with our family, and looking at other people and how they interact, or in relationships, and seeing, hey, mine ain't like that. Like, it's okay. You're different, and it's okay to get to that point where you're in acceptance. You know, you don't have to be in denial. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to bargain. You definitely don't have to be in depression. You can get to acceptance by working through those things. So a couple things that I want to quickly do before I head on out, because my groceries probably about to be delivered, is do some things that have helped me. Coaching has helped. Journaling has helped. Prayer has helped. Meditation has helped. Removing anything negative physically, like alcohol. Like I haven't been partaking like in anything. I've just been wanting to heal my actual physical body. So it's just trying to heal all those different areas of your life, spiritually, physically, mentally, definitely emotionally, and working through some of those emotional things. Anything that you find as a trigger, you know, writing it down and actually processing it and going into the why behind it, breaking those negative patterns, the things that you do that are self-deprecating or detrimental to your growth, and working through that, not taking things personal, looking at it as, you know, other people have their work to do, but being okay with walking away and stepping back and surrendering, and just making peace with all of the things, especially things that have happened in your childhood. Like, that situation really bothered me for a long time. Like I said, and even now it's still, you know, like I cried last year when I realized, like, wow, like that really bothered me, because I ultimately just wanted to feel loved, you know, and be loved, and I didn't feel that in that moment. And I had to realize, like I said, that everyone goes through their own issues, and it probably wasn't a personal thing. It was an issue that they were experiencing, you know what I mean? So like I said, you know, I'm able to accept that and grow. And so I just wanted to hop on, do a quick video. This week has been insanely busy. I have another insanely busy week next week, and I'm thanking God for it. My stamina, my growth, my development, like I'm in this, I'm locked in. Like I hope, and my hope is that through these videos and me expressing my inner thoughts and feelings, that it can help other people too. And like I said, this isn't an effort to demean or devalue or belittle anyone. It is an effort to tell my truth and some of the things that I've experienced and have experienced, in hopes that it may help other people. I have been recluse most of my life and kept my inner feelings to myself. And part of my healing process is being able to openly express some of the things that have been detrimental to me, in hopes of healing and being a better person. And baby, I'm looking good. Yes, feeling good, looking good, and thankful for all the blessings that God has for me. I'm gonna keep you guys in prayer and pray that you get all the things that God has for you. It comes with removing bitterness, removing that denial, removing that anger, stop bargaining, come up out that depression. And if you do have depression, you can seek help. You can seek therapy. Sometimes there are meds for people who have severe cases. I am not against that either. And know that you are not in it alone, and that is so many other people that are experiencing it. And I love you guys. I love